So, are you going to your first reptile show? Think about it. I know you're happy. I know you're excited. I know you're ecstatic to go. But I'm going to actually give you a few things to remember on your way to a new reptile show. Let's get it. Let's go. You guys are watching Tad's Exotics. Now, I won't make this a long video because, well, it just doesn't need to be. But remember these things when you're going to your first reptile show. Now, always remember, you want to have a backpack. You just got to have that backpack because this backpack will actually help you when you're walking around the reptile show and you're seeing things that you want to purchase. You won't have to hold it in your hand and keep running back and forth to the car. You can put these things inside of your backpack and keep going around the room. Third two, remember, you always want to either have the card with you and also some money. So I always say kind of hit the account, your any ATM that you can go to, it's either local or up in the area of the reptile show. Always remember to go and get some cash out and also bring your card with you because some vendors just do not take cards. Some vendors only take cash. So you have to remember that. Always be prepared to have cash with you and your card. Just don't want to forget them. Don't forget them at home. And also, don't tell your wife how much you're actually spending. Number 3, always remember to ask the vendor if they have a card. Any of their cards, don't be afraid to ask them and say, hey, look, can I get a card from you guys? Even if you might not have enough money to purchase one of the animals they have, or they just don't have the animal that you want at this show at this current given time. They might have it at another show after that. So do not be afraid to ask them for a card because this card will help you. Also, even if you purchase a reptile from this vendor, you always want to get a card from them. So remember where you purchased this reptile from. And like I always just do, I just always get a card just so I know what certain breeders are in my area or just some good breeders, period. So always keep these type of cards stacked up. I got them in my reptile collection. You guys actually see as I go to certain reptile shows, you'll see how many cards I collect. And it's pretty awesome just to know certain breeders. Let's say I wake up in the morning, hey, I want a corn snake. So I go through my cards and see what type of breeders I ran past and things in that matter, and I know who to go to. All right, number 4. Don't be afraid to ask to hold the reptile that you're looking to purchase. You might want to see how this certain snake or this monitor, well, interacts with not only you, but just handle them, period. You might want to feel them and make sure you don't feel anything odd, on them or anything crazy in that sort. Like I always say, just because the animal acts a certain way at the show doesn't mean it's going to act a certain way, that same way when it gets home. Gotta remember, these animals are kind of cooler at the show, so their attitude is kind of, tamer. But once they get home underneath the heat, things change. But don't be afraid to ask that vendor if you can hold that reptile. Because most of the time, if you're looking to purchase, that vendor is definitely going to let you hold that reptile. No problem. You just ask them politely, hey, can I actually see whatever reptile you're asking to see? And they'll tell you to put some hand sanitizer in your hand, wipe your hand, and you hold the reptile, period. Not sure what you might be looking for: chameleon, water monitor, ball python, retic, any in that order. Doesn't really matter. But just always remember, don't be afraid to ask the vendor to hold the reptile. Number 5, remember, if you just purchased this baby ball python and they tell you this baby ball python is feeding on hoppers, while you're at the show, go ahead and go in the corner, which is usually where the feed is always at, and go and purchase you some frozen feeders. If they say they take frozen, that's even better. Some do live, but the snake is already eating frozen. Why not purchase the food while you're there? Don't go all the way. Let's say you went to a Maryland show, but you live in DC where there's not a lot of feeders at. It's only maybe 1 or 2 stores. Go ahead and rack up on your food source now while you're at the show. Even if you picked up a new bearded dragon, make sure you rack up on super worms. Make sure you rack up on dubia roaches, and maybe even start your own colony while you're at it. So go ahead and rack up. Always remember to grab your feeders. If you just purchased this specific reptile, always remember, if they have the feeders there, grab it now. Don't wait to be looking for this type of source of food and you might not have in your local areas. Number 6, remember, well, I know you want to take your reptile out when you get in the car, but don't do it. Just don't do it, okay? This will kind of bite you at the end, as you see a lot of videos or certain people say that they lost their reptile in the car from just opening the container just to check on them. Just remember to have the car, depending on the temperature or the time of year that you're going to this reptile show. If it's in the winter, you make sure the car is nice and cozy and nice and warm. If you're in the summer, make sure the car is kind of, not too freezing, but at a nice temperature, okay? But also remember to make sure every container is closed, perfect, and great. And also remember, you got a snake bag. Remember that this snake bag, you need to make sure it's tied up very well, because most snakes typically get out of the snake bag sometimes. You don't want anything to escape while you're in the car, because most of the time when they get loose in the car, it's a fair chance that you might find them, you might not. So just always remember to keep those containers closed. As much as you want to take a picture of the lizard that you're holding on your hand, you just came from a reptile show, just wait till you get home and don't even stress the lizard or the snake out. Just keep them in a container till you get home. Last but not least, remember, now you got home, you should already have this tank set up ahead of time, because you should already know what you're going to purchase at the reptile show. Remember, when you put this animal inside this enclosure that you either built, or maybe already just a tank or whatever it is, remember to give this animal some time to adapt to what you're putting it in. You don't want to stress this animal out. Don't be so quick you just want to feed it. Just let this animal adapt to what this enclosure, this whole new setup that you're putting this animal in. Remember, you're taking this animal from one setup to another. Remember to leave the animal inside of the tank or enclosure for a while to get them used to and adapted to where they are living now. Don't stress them. Sometimes I even tell people, if you have a certain snake or lizard, I say just cover the whole tank up. Now remember to make sure you follow through with all these rules, because you're on your way to a new reptile show. Maybe this is your first, maybe it's your second, maybe it's even your third. But these are just usually the rules that you should remember when going to a reptile show. But if this is your first reptile show, take your time. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be very fun. Your brain's going to be everywhere. Your heart's going to be pumping with excitement. Just remember to take your time. Look over every animal with a beautiful eye-sighted eye that you have. And make sure you look over everything. Even make sure you're looking at some of the vendors. Okay? Just take your time. Have fun. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Taz Exotics.